My name is Sabrina Grossman. I am a program director in science education at SEISMIC, which is an acronym for the Center for Education Integrating Science, Math, and Computing at Georgia Tech. So we're like the equivalent of a school of education, except we don't offer degrees. We mainly do teacher PD, student summer camps, but we do a lot of research in STEM and STEAM education, and we work a lot in computing initiatives for the state of Georgia. So it's really exciting because I love that I also get to connect to other states through my job, because we've now developed some models in computing that have gone nationwide. So I'm about to present a little bit about EarSketch and a nationwide competition that will launch in the next week called Your Voice is Power. But I'll just give you a little bit of background. I worked now on EarSketch as a program director for 8 years. So I've seen it develop and evolve. So I think we have about half of the people on the call have used EarSketch before. Does that sound about right, Diane? So excited to kind of share with you. There will be interactive. I'll be kind of doing a code along, but I also understand it is 7 p.m. after a day of teaching. So you do not need to actually code along. You can watch. This is being recorded. You can follow back on the presentation. You could also, we have a series of YouTube videos, and you can also reach out to me. So on that note, I'm going to see if I can just share my screen, and I want to make sure, and then I'll make sure I can also share the volume with you. And we'll get started and hopefully have a little bit of fun. And then I'll have some time at the end to answer some questions. Okay. So hopefully you can see the PowerPoint that says Hip Hop at 50 EarSketch. We'll go back to this slide and create our EarSketch account a little bit further, but I wanted just to quickly introduce what EarSketch is, because I'm sure Diane put a little bit of description in, but it's always good just to hear a little bit more, have a better understanding of the tool and the platform before we do a short demo and talk about the competition. So EarSketch is a code to compose platform, which means that students learn how to code through remixing music. And not just learning how to code, but the basics of computer science and computational thinking. EarSketch was created at Georgia Tech in 2011 by 2 professors, one in music and one in digital computing. So it really is at that STEAM intersection of computing and the arts. It is an online tool. So that means you don't need any software downloads. It runs in Chrome, Safari, and Firefox. It is free, so there's absolutely no cost to using it, and it will continue and always be free. So the platform, which is great, there's no subscription service. You can have as many students on it as you would like. It was created with National Science Foundation grants, so we will always keep it free for you and your students. Students can remix samples of music or stems of music using Python or JavaScript. They can do this in text or blocks, and I'll show you a little demo there. So I heard we had some middle school students, so you might still be looking at block coding. If you're in high school, you might want to move into text. It is now translated into 6 languages: Spanish, French, Hebrew, Arabic, Ojibwe, and Inuktitut, and those are 2 Canadian Indigenous languages. We are used in all 50 states, and we have 92 countries that have EarSketch users. We just celebrated our 1 millionth user. Actually, now it's been over a year, in fall of 2022. We have almost 5,000 sounds in our library, so I think it's like 4,700. Most of those sounds have been donated by artists like Alicia Keys, Khalid, Pharrell. We also have some sounds made by electronic music artists, from gospel artists, from country music artists. Students also have the opportunity to upload and remix their own sounds. What is the coolest thing about EarSketch, I feel, is that it resembles a multi-track digital audio workstation. And that means for students who have used GarageBand or Pro Tools or Logic Pro or Soundtrap, they'll recognize what EarSketch looks like. And what I love even more is that it resembles what a lot of professionals are using in the recording studios now. So if students get familiar with EarSketch, they actually kind of have an opportunity to think about the recording industry or audio engineer as next steps in their career. And why did we create EarSketch? Why did we decide that students should learn how to code through remixing music? One of the things is that we found is that the power of music is really important. Many of our students are passionate about music. You could ask almost any student, who's your favorite artist? What are you listening to right now? I walk around high schools and most of the students have their headphones on. So they're always in music, but they're not in coding. Coding is not something that's always familiar to our students. Most of our students might not be able to name a computer scientist off the top of their head. So by taking the power of music to really invest them in coding is why we created EarSketch. We have found through years of research that increases intention to persist in computing, especially among women and underrepresented minorities. And we also have created a curriculum that we'll share with you that incorporates project-based learning and voice and choice. So we wanted to really take this idea of learning how to code and take it away from just recipe or just repetitive motion or students thinking that they're just doing back-end work or in a cubicle, but make it that you can be remixing music. There's voice and choice in this, that you can choose your own projects. So that is why we created EarSketch. And these are just some of the artists that we have now in EarSketch. We have Sierra, Pharrell, Common, that's Richard Devine. We have Young Guru, who is Jay-Z's sound engineer. And so by taking a lot of these artists that students recognize and then putting them into the computer science classes or technology classes, all of a sudden students are paying attention. So that is kind of EarSketch as a tool. And kind of the last thing is I mentioned that it's in all these languages, but one of the reasons is that we wanted students to have personal identity, authenticity, and also to have global access. So when students are listening, and I'm going back and forth between these slides because I think one of the really most important things about EarSketch is that we want students to see themselves as computer scientists. We want them to see Pharrell's picture and say, I listen to Pharrell's music, I'm paying attention, I'm in tune, I can choose to remix his music through code. Same thing with language. If something is familiar to a student, they're more likely to become invested in the use. So I wanted you to actually hear from a student who used EarSketch. This is one of our students that actually won our national competition, which I'll kind of tell you a little bit more about towards the end. Your voice is power. She won $5,000 and she was a junior in high school, and she'll describe kind of her experience in the competition and using EarSketch.
I'm Black Ambition. I'm always whispering.
Hi, my name is Ariane Panier. I am a 12th grader here at Palm Beach Gardens High School, and I am so proud of myself to have won the Georgia Tech Music Coding Competition. I was able to create music, not with my voice, not with any instruments available to me, but just with the computer in my hands.
Grateful, grateful.
You pick a drum, you pick vocals, you pick horns, you pick what you want the beats to go, so it's a lot of math as well. And I got to put my creativity and my mind into my work, and that's all me. The music is all me.
I'm Black Ambition. I'm always whispering.
The songs also have a deep message about Black entrepreneurs. Black people are able to do anything that they put their minds to. It's entrepreneurs, so we can be whatever we want to be as long as we put our minds to it. And our melanin is not something that is to hold us back, but to push us forward.
Black nation, black builder, black entrepreneur. Black excellence, and I'm on the board.
I'm very proud of myself because not only did I win $5,000, I won it by doing something that I love, which is music, and I won the competition.
1,500 people were in this contest. I'm like, this is a big deal. We were just excited. It was an exciting time for us.
Quite an amazing feat to use coding to come up with such a message, but also a song and a beat that is catchy and people want to listen to over and over again.
The description is it's a song to uplift Black people.
Computer science is in every area of life, and we're trying to make sure that kids, when they go outside of school, they're ready. They're ready for this digital world.
I hope you enjoyed the music, and please remember that your voice is power.
You turned on the light.
So hearing about that from Ariane and just the student coding, hopefully will help you understand a little bit more about how your students might interact with your sketch. So we're gonna have a little fun. And this year's Your Voice is Power competition, which is the one that Ariane won, is celebrating the 50th anniversary of hip hop. And it was, hip hop started at a block party in Cedric Avenue in the Bronx in 1973. August 1973, but we're taking the whole year to celebrate the 50th anniversary of hip hop. And what we really wanted students to do is have the opportunity to dive deep into the music structure of hip hop and how their voice could be expressed through a hip hop song through coding. So as he said, it started at this block party in Cedric Avenue in the Bronx. Hip hop is really characterized by remixing beats and playing the break section of songs over and over again, where the instruments drop out and just the drums are left in the track. Initially, these parts of the record were short, but what really established hip hop were the DJs and the block parties that allowed this break beat to allow the music to last longer, which got more people out dancing and just really in tune with the music. So this remix that Kool Herc did was kind of the beginnings of hip hop. These are two of the top hip hop songs, and I want to just kind of have you listen to them for just a little bit and think about some of the rhythms that you might hear, some of the style of the music, and then we'll talk about how this can also be coded. And also think about just how hip hop has, changed and evolved, but Rapper's Delight and then Grandmaster Flash and Furious 5, are the two most iconic hip hop songs that you might hear of these days.
Here's Wonder Mike, Hank, and Master G, the Sugar Hill Gang.
The hip hop, you don't stop. Rock it out, baby, rubber to the boogity bang bang, the boogie to the boogity beat. Now what you hear is not a test. I'm rapping to the beat. And me, the groove, and my friends are gonna try to move your feet. You see, I am Wonder Mike, and I like to say hello. Up to the black, to the white, the red, and the brown, the purple, and yellow. But first, I gotta bang, bang, the boogie to the boogie. Say up, jump the boogie to the bang, bang, boogie. Let's rock. You don't stop, rock the rhythm, that'll make your body rock. Well, so far you've heard my voice, but I brought two friends along. And next on the mic is my man Hank. Come on, Hank, sing that song. Check it out. When I'm imp the dimp, the ladies pimp, the women fight for my delight. But I'm the grand master with the 3 MCs that shock the house for the young ladies. And when you come inside and to the front, you do the freak spank and do the bump. And when the sucker MCs try to prove a point with Trent's Trio, or with the serious joiner from some.
Okay. If you want to put in the chat, just kind of some of the rhythm that you hear or what you think might be kind of the elements of this song, and then after listening to the next song, what they might have in common.
like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under.
Broken glass everywhere. People on the stage, you know they just don't care. I can't take the smell, can't take the noise. Got no money to move out, I guess I got no choice. Rats in the front room, roaches in the back, junkies in the alley with the baseball bat. I tried to get away, but I couldn't get far, cause a man with a tow truck repossessed my car. Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going.
Okay, so if you want to put just, yeah, I love it. Just put kind of what you hear in these two songs, and what kind of musical elements you think they have in common that really defines the genre of hip hop. You can, awesome. So yeah, syncopation, lots of variety of beats, lots of layers. All the instruments have a percussive sound. Synthesized sounds too, using the same loop, whereas one is slower than the other, bass and melody, and that the lyrics are really important. Awesome. So yeah, so hip hop as a genre has specific elements, and that is one thing that that really lends itself to ear sketch. And this element is that we can really talk about the music of hip hop and dive into a little bit of the history of hip hop, all while bringing it back to code and computer science. So some of the elements of hip hop are that the tempo is not quite as fast as you think. It's only about 60 to 100 beats per minute. So a lot of pop songs are actually faster than hip hop. They sample a lot of portions or beats from other songs. There's a lot of rhythmic chanting of the lyrics, a lot of repetition, a lot of flow, a lot of improv, a lot of call and response, DJing, scratching with records and turntables, a lot of looping those beats. I think Derek was talking about the loops, a lot of looping the beats, the drum machine and the synthesizer. The drum beat is really important. A lot of jazz, Afro-Caribbean beats, and then the beatboxing. So yes, the rap is kind of a subset of hip hop. And then really this huge focus on the beat. So this kind of thinking about these elements, we're going to move into ear sketch, and we're actually going to code using a little bit of a break beat, using a lot of repetition, using drum sounds, maybe even pulling in some of these Caribbean beats, Afro-Caribbean beats, and maybe even recording some of our lyrics. And this is going to be exactly how you can start out explaining or connecting your students with the competition, is thinking about these elements of hip hop and then actually moving into ear sketch. So I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to go to earsketch.jatech.edu, click on the yellow start coding, and then we'll create our account. I'm actually going to switch off of the PowerPoint and into ear sketch for a minute, so we can just follow along as I code. So you'll go to the earsketch.jatech.edu. You can click the yellow start coding. And your screen should look something like this, except I'm going to log out. If you have used earsketch before, you might auto logs you in, and that's fine. But if you are new to earsketch, first thing we're gonna do, and this is the first thing you'll also have your students do, is you're gonna go to the right-hand corner and click create reset account, and you're going to click register a new account. You'll create a username. I always like to tell students, think about kind of your code DJ name, like Outcast, you might have like Andre 3000 or Childish Gambino for Donald Glover. So thinking about what kind of your co-DJ name, your username for privacy concerns probably shouldn't be the student's first and last name. But it could be their co-DJ name. If you want to create kind of an ear sketch class where you want to give students kind of like a username that's like a series of numbers or something, so you can actually see their work and log in as them, you could also do that. I also sometimes recommend that you can give your whole class the same password, because once you're in ear sketch, the reason to create the account is to save student work. But a lot of times if students create a password that's too difficult, they're constantly like having to recover their password. And it also could make it easier for you to grade work if you kind of kept all the students with like a specific username and password. We don't recommend that you even need the email address. It's really for those who are using it outside of the classroom for password recovery. A lot of schools I know don't want students to give out personal emails. It could violate their privacy agreement. Also, we know a lot of schools, student emails are school restricted. So even if they do forget their password, they couldn't recover it through their email address. We can offer that you can give your teacher email address to the student. So if they do forget their password, it can go back to the teacher. But if a student forgets their password, there's another way to do password recovery. You just send us an email and we'll get them a new password. So then you simply click create account. I actually have mine, so I'm going to log in here. It's logging me in. So once you're logged in, your screen should look like mine. As I mentioned, we're going to skip the quick tour because I'm going to give you my own quick tour. For those of you who have used EarSketch in the past, I'll be sure to point out any new EarSketch elements or attributes. For those of you who haven't, I'll just point out everything. So on the left side of the screen, and feel free to interrupt, Diane, if you see something in the chat or I'm going too fast, please feel free to interrupt. My goal is just to do a quick tour and then just get to coding a little bit before our hour is up. Okay, so on the left side, you have your content manager. This is really all of where your sounds are going to be. So as I mentioned, that the purpose of this program is to remix sounds to learn how to code, but we need to kind of have a sound library, and that is what is on the left side on the sound library. You can filter your sounds by artists. So we have Alicia Keys, Boykin, Sierra Common. We have some indigenous artists, Dakota Bear, Duke Redbird. We also have some Latinx artists, specifically Milk and Sis and Izarian Caraballo. So we have a good amount of sounds. We also can filter by genre. Boykins are our first country music. We have dubstep, we have EDM, we have funk, we have gospel. So really, whatever sounds your students might like, they can find in EarSketch. And this is really what makes it authentic, is allowing them to choose their artist and their genre if they want to code. And so even though our theme this year for Your Voice is Power is hip hop, we are encouraging students to actually remix artists from other genres to kind of recreate some of the elements of hip hop. So we didn't say you exclusively can only code in hip hop, but we'd love to hear some like country beats, because that is one of the elements of hip hop, or the roots of hip hop, is that you're able to remix and sample from different artists. You can also filter by instruments, and this is a great way for students to, build their song. I always say, like, you can build a song like a band, and so you can just search for drum or just bass. And then this is new. It's kind of came in, I think, mid last year, is you can now search by keys. And this really allows some of your more musically inclined students to choose sounds that might harmonize better. It also will give you some recommendations. So if you want to build your song all in the same key, you can kind of choose your key and then get all the sounds that would be on that. So that is definitely something that is new. And you can play your sound. These are some of the 808 basses. If you like a sound a lot, you star it. And then you can only have your favorite sounds at times. This add sound button is actually for students to upload or record their own sounds. We also have something called free sound, which is like thousands of free audio clips. So there's like door opening and just like kind of like sound effects. So if you actually even wanted students, you can use Sketch to create like, you know, a score for a show or a video or a background music for something, and you can add those with free sound. So there's a lot you can do in the sound bank. The next kind of menu is your scripts. And I have like 487. That's because I've been using Sketch for a while, but this is where all my saved work is. So this is kind of when students code, all their work goes into their scripts, and then they can also share their scripts with one another, and you can filter it. The API is like your glossary or dictionary of functions for coding. So I always like to tell students, if you're never sure of a function, you can go to your API, you can find it, it will tell you all the arguments, you can even open it for a description, and then you can also paste it in your code. I'm going to toggle this off and then go all the way over to the other side. We have our curriculum tab, and this is really important for your classroom. If you want to teach Sketch, we kind of have a student self-guided curriculum. We have 3 units that we recommend doing in a high school class. If you're teaching middle school, we only recommend teaching units 1 and 2, and those will get you through kind of the computing concepts you need to know at the middle school level. But within these, you have videos, you have sample code. It really is self-guided by students on our—
Hey y'all, I'm Will, a student here at Georgia Tech, as well as a member of the Sketch team.
As well as our teacher website. And I was gonna try to pull up our teacher website in a minute. I think it's under here. Our teacher website will actually have lesson plans that would go along with the Sketch self-guided curriculum. So let's go to the middle. This is your digital audio workstation. In this case, you can click to create a new script. I'm actually going to have you do something slightly different, but I just want to demonstrate what you probably will have your students do. So you can click here to create a new script. You can call your script what name you want. I'm just putting the date for today because and you can decide whether you want to code in Python or JavaScript. I'm going to be coding in Python today just because it is a very common coding language, and we see that it is more used kind of at the middle introductory computing language. But if your school is a JavaScript school, you can easily follow along in JavaScript, and you'd simply click create, and a new script would open in your window. Every script kind of opens in the same way. So we have kind of this top line is a comment. It has a hashtag or # next to it. So I recently read this article about Gen Z not knowing what the # is. So you have to, I always say both the hashtag and # because there was a joke, like somebody had a dial in somewhere and they said hit pound afterwards, and she kept hitting star. So anything in your sketch that has this hashtag or # next to it is called a comment. And if you're familiar with computer science, comments are instructions to programmer. They help you organize your code and label your code, but they are not read by the computer. So one kind of thing that I always tell, analogy that I always go to the students is I say, we call this a script. Where else do you know what a script is? And often, students think of a script as like a drama, play, TV show, or movie. And a script is really a set of instructions that tell actors, actresses what to say and do. However, there's lines that might say, your lines that you read out loud, but then there's also these lines in italics that say, move slowly across the stage, make sure you have a frown on your face. And those are kind of what I refer to as comments, the lines in italics on a script that are not said, but give direction to your code. So you can type in whatever you want for your description, And then below that is from Ear Sketch import. This tells the computer that we're gonna pull from that API and put it in. And then last but not least, we always have set tempo. The tempo is your pace of your song is beats per minute. Tempo in Ear Sketch can go from 40 to 220. As we mentioned for hip hop, it is often between 60 and 100. And then since we're gonna be doing that, I'm gonna change mine to 90. But you can always adjust it. You can also adjust the tempo throughout the song. This is an example of a function that is an Ear Sketch function, set tempo, and you might notice that it is camel case. All the functions in Ear Sketch are camel case. Okay, went through that really fast. I am going to actually give you a sample code that we're going to go through together. So let me find one. I'm going to share this code with you. I'm going to put a code in the chat right now. We're going to try this as a little bit of experiment. And so I'm going to put that code in the chat, and I'm going to see if you can click on that link, and it's going to open up an Ear Sketch window on your computer. And then I'm going to have you, I'm going to log out for a second and try this here. I'm going to just demo this. Click on this link. And it's going to have this box that says import to edit. I want you to click on that and import it into your Ear Sketch library, because we're just going to play around with this code today. So I'll give everybody a minute or two to click on this link and then import it to your own Ear Sketch library. Please post in the chat or call out if you have any problems doing that, and then we'll get started kind of playing around with this code.
It's really easy to set up the beginnings of something and let the kids play with it. That's nice.
Yeah. So yeah, this is actually like, and Diane, that's a great point, is that sometimes we don't need to have our students all code from scratch, or from scratch. That's probably a bad word to say in like computer science coding, it will confuse them, but code from a blank slate, right? That sometimes I like to give them code and have them change things in the code, because it will make it a little easier for them to learn it. So especially if you're just doing Ear Sketch for a few days, or you're just bringing it into your classroom, you don't necessarily have to start with a blank slate. So this is kind of a sample code that I wrote. It is of the hip hop genre. We have some good drums. We have our bass. We kind of have this beat that is looped. It's not quite a break beat. I need to finish looping that, but this is a good example of what you can do in Ear Sketch. So once you have code that works, you can always click this green run button, and it populates in what we call the digital audio workstation. And this kind of looks like GarageBand or Pro Tools, only you can't move these blocks. But these blocks kind of show you visually your code. So that's your digital auto workstation. And then below it is your code or your code editor where you can type and make changes that then if you run your code again, are visualized here. So sometimes we even do live coding where we're constantly changing things in the code editor and then clicking run. At the very bottom, you may notice is something called the console. And this is running script ran successfully. And that will always tell you if you have an error or you can put a print command. So we'll just listen to my sample code and then we're gonna have some fun making some changes. Got it, good intro beat. Got our bass, our 808.
Girls night, throw it up. When your partner, show some love. Where you from? Countryside. Say it loud, make it proud.
So we got kind of a little hip hop intro, but now we're gonna have some opportunities by taking a tour of the code to make some changes. So as I said, this description at the top, these are my comments. Anytime you have a hashtag, it means the computer does not read it. So it says, I just wrote a simple comment. This is my first time coding EarSketch. I'm so excited. Then below it, we have our from EarSketch import. As I mentioned, we have our set tempo set at 120. I'm actually gonna change this down to 90. We'll see if we like that later. If you want to change it, you can. If you want to make it 100, if you want to make it 110, you're welcome to edit by just simply typing in the number after set tempo. And that's just, as I said, the beats per minute. One of the cool things in EarSketch is you can actually check out what the original tempo of each sound you put in is by just hovering over the name. So if you have a sound that you like and you want to kind of set the tempo to that sound, you just have to hover over it in the content manager. Below this, I have a comment called sounds. This just lets the reader or the programmer know that this is where I'm storing all my sounds. And these are variables that I've created. So basically, I've created these variables, these names, drums, for example, to show that I'm going to have a drum sound there. And then I have keys and I have a keys sound. So I could just use the full long name of the drum sound and put it directly in my code. But I chose to create this container or variables to store the sound, because if you notice, this is a very long name. I could easily make a mistake in typing or delete something by accident, and then cause an error in my code. I may also really love this drum beat and want to use it multiple times. And instead of trying to find this drum beat multiple times, even if it is my favorites, in 43 sounds or 4,000 sounds, it's easier if I can just repeat it by typing the word drums. So a variable is like a container, it's just like in math, x equals 2. Anytime there's an x, it's substituted 2. Anytime that I have drums in my code, I know I'm using this drum beat. And same things with keys. So I always like students to kind of build out their sound library to get started. I like to tell them it's like building out a band. What instruments are in a band? Okay, we have drums, we have keys, we have the bass, we have vocals. Then they go to the content manager and might search by instrument. Okay, I need a drum sound. Let me find a drum sound that I like. And then once you find the drum sound that you like, you can simply click the blue plate paste clip. So what I'm going to challenge you to do, if you're following along, if not, just we'll take a break for a minute, is listen to each sound in the code. And then decide which sound you might want to replace. Go to the sound library and you can delete the sound, and then paste in a new sound. Okay, so give everybody a minute to listen to the sounds for your variables. Go to the sound library. I decided I wanted to replace the bass, so I deleted the bass. Find a new sound, and then click the blue clipboard to replace the sound.
Sabrina, you're treating us to quite the variety of sounds.
Oh, sorry.
Left
I'm
it
going
on.
to I'm going to
It's a good example of how to play, though.
Okay, I chose my sound. I'll give you another minute to choose yours. So yeah, I simply just switched out my bass. Okay, so that's also one way to kind of introduce it to your students, is that you've set up the variables for them, but you might just allow them to choose all the sounds, or you might ask them to switch out some of the sounds for you. We're going to get back to this beat string in a few minutes. Then you'll go down and you see another comment or hashtag that says song starts here. That's an organizational comment. And we're going to see that there's this function called fit media. Fit media is the most popular function in EarSketch because it tells the computer to play a sound. Again, it is camel case, meaning that this middle letter is capital, but it starts with a lowercase f. EarSketch is very case sensitive, so you have to type the code exact. Bit media takes 4 arguments, and I'll show you them in the API. It takes the sound. It will take a track number and the starting time and ending time. And time in EarSketch is in measures. So if we want something to start at the beginning of the song at time 0, it would start at measure 1. If we want something to start at 4 seconds, in this case, it would start at measure 3. I have my tempo at approximately, 90 to 100 beats. So about each measure, and that's also the unit of time in EarSketch, the unit of time in music, which is 4 beats. Every 4 beats is taking approximately 2 seconds. And so you'll write the measure number for starting and ending. And in EarSketch, the starting measure is inclusive and the ending measure is exclusive. So if you want a sound to play for 2 full measures, you would actually start it at measure 1. It would start, play all of measure 1, and end it at measure 3, because it will play all the way until the first beat of measure 3. It's like subtraction for the students. So if they wanted to play for 2 measures, be 3 minus 1. And if they wanted to play for 3 measures, it'd be 4 minus 1, because the ending measure is exclusive. So for example, here, my fit media has these 4 arguments. We're gonna play the drums, which is my drum sound from up here, my Boykin sound, on track 1. And tracks are just kind of your lines of music. And we're gonna play it, I have from 13, measure 13 through measure 17. Then below it, I have my keys. That's on track 2. I'm gonna play that from measure 5 to measure 17. And same here, measure 9 through measure 17. So it's the starting and ending measure. What I would like you to do now is to have a little fun. I want you to change up some of these starting and ending measures and click run and see if you like your song any better. So it'll take a minute for you to change up your starting and ending measures and see if you like your song any better. Okay, I'm gonna play mine one more time. I hope your ears are okay.
Show some love. Where you from? Countryside. Say it loud. Make it come. Nails not. Throw it up. When you're
Okay. What would you guys think I need to change here?
Tempo's kind of dragging when you slowed it down.
Yes. Definitely, my tempo for the vocals seems like it's dragging a lot. So one thing I could do is, like, if I like the intro, if I kind of like the keys and the bass at this lower tempo, but as soon as my vocals came in, it was obvious I needed that bigger tempo. My vocals are coming in at measure 11. So I could change my tempo to 120 at, oops, that's opposite. I need to put 120 at measure 11. And let's see. And so right now here, I kind of mix my track. I have the slow tempo to start, and then I'm bringing it up a notch.
Show some love. Where you from?
So that might have been too big of a jump. So this is all about coding and music. Like, you listen to the music and you're like, how can I adjust my code? So one other thing that you can do with tempo is you can actually create kind of an accelerando. So I could slowly increase my tempo as we're coming in. And so basically I can take my start tempo up here, and let's say I want to start it at like 95 at measure 1, but by the time my vocals come in at measure 11, I want it to be 110. So let's see what this looks like.
Countryside.
Okay, and you can slowly see the tempo increasing. So it starts slow.
Show some love. Where you from?
Okay, so that could sound better. So this is kind of the cool thing about ear sketch and code and using music, is having your students kind of play around with the sounds, with what they want it to sound like, but they have to use the code to get it to sound like they want it to. Last but not least, what I also have here is kind of a set effect. This allows me to change the volume on a specific track. In our curriculum, you'll see that there's all different effects, and this is very similar to a DAW, so GarageBand or Pro Tools. You can create distortions, you can create delays, you can increase or decrease the volume, you can add a chorus. So this also allows students to add effects onto their music. And last but not least, as we mentioned, to loop the beat in a hip hop song or create this background beat, we use a for loop. And then we use kind of a string make beat, which is a function that uses string data, where we actually can break apart our beat string or break apart a sound into 16th notes. So that is what we're doing here on measure 5, and I'm going to solo it so you can just hear how we use this make beat to kind of break apart a sound into this hard kind of backbeat of our song, and then we looped it for the first 9 measures. And students can even beat it out on their desk, just like they would be like beatboxing to try to create their own beat string. So that was just a quick introduction to ear sketch. I would love for you to continue to play with this code, maybe change around the beat string, change around measures, and think about how you can use this in your classroom. Last but not least, I want to just kind of share with you that we will have our competition. It is going to launch on February 6th. And as I mentioned, our theme is going to be Hip Hop Influences Everything. And Ear Sketch will commemorate the 50th anniversary of hip hop with its Your Voices Power competition, celebrating hip hop's influence on music and culture. Hip hop is more than just a musical expression. It serves as a platform for underrepresented voices to be heard and celebrated. Through hip hop lyrics, artists can advocate for social justice issues, giving voice to the unheard and addressing their daily challenges. The Your Voices Power competition will allow students to remix a song using sounds from the Ear Sketch library, combining them with their own code to create a musical expression of these voices within the framework of a hip hop song. So we will have our full website launched on February 6th, but basically we will be having our competition will go into June 21st, and students will actually be able to submit right on the Ear Sketch platform. And as I said, it's not live yet, so it's a little hard to see, but basically when they go to their script, there will be an option to submit to competition, and it will automatically record it. They'll fill out some basic information. Their song should be about 30 seconds to 2 minutes. And they can win prizes such as Amazon gift cards. We also now have some Harman headphones. Your students would be local to Georgia, but we're also offering some local Georgia experiences where students would have the opportunity to come to Georgia Tech for a tour. So the requirements, the coding requirements for the competition is basically this code that I gave you here. Students would need to have a for loop within their code. They'll need to have at least 5 tracks and use more than one artist. So actually the code that I have given you tonight meets all the minimum requirements. And I think it's 30 seconds long. Yep. So it's 36 seconds. So this would meet all the minimum requirements. I wouldn't say this would be a winning entry because it is just kind of like an intro. You really want students to think about songs on the radio and kind of, the idea that they have an intro, they have a chorus, they have a verse. So try to have your students work through a little bit of the song structure, but note that the coding requirements are that they have at least 5 tracks, that they use at least more than one artist, and that they have a for loop. So it's 7:59. I will take any questions, and I will also share our final slide so you can have contact information.
And I added the link to the slides to our Canvas course, as well as
Awesome.
the other resources that were shared in there. The one question, do students have to save changes to their music? Is there a
it will automatically save once they create an account. So
It
every
does
time they go
auto-save.
back in,
Okay.
it'll auto save.